What up, YouTube? Digital Foundry put out a retrospective on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, the original games, the ports, the modern version, the legacy, overwhelmingly linked to me and voted for watching today on the stream, so that's why we're watching it. A lot of people wanted me to check it out, so.
Even among these titans, few games were as hotly anticipated as Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Announced for PlayStation 2, it marked the series' leap into the next generation, offering improved visuals, smoother performance, and
dude, the leap from Tony 2, while we're on this topic, the leap from Tony 2 to Tony 3 was amazing. I'll never forget the first time I saw a preview video and the first time I was able to play it. Like the frame rate alone, 60 FPS, the butteriness was like, it wasn't like anything I'd ever seen because we're on PS1. What was it capped to, like 30? I'm pretty sure something like 17 frames. It might have been 30, but you could really tell. Even back then when I was so young, I didn't know how to explain the difference and why it felt so good and looked so smooth. But it's because solid at 60 FPS, man.
That is until Activision revived it in 2020 with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, full remakes of the original two games that reignited fans' passion for the series. It was one of my favorite games that year. But just months after its release, the news hit. Developer Vicarious Visions, a studio with a deep history rooted in...
Dude, I remember getting called into the meeting that we were merging with Blizzard, like weeks before we won Sports Game of the Year. We got Sports Game of the Year from the Video Game Awards, and it was just like, this means nothing. I don't care, because... we're like, I'm waiting to be assigned to either Overwatch 2 or Diablo 4. And I wish I was. So, anyway.
To truly understand the impact of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, you only need to look back at what came before and after its release. Skating, an extreme sports game, certainly existed.
What game is this? This looks so familiar. What game is that? ESPN Extreme Games. Dude, yes, or 2 Extreme. Oh my god, 2 Extreme. Hold on, sorry, there's an ESPN Extreme, and then the sequel was 2 Extreme. It was garbage, absolute garbage. I bought it though. I bought it. It was a greatest hit. It was like 20 bucks, and if we're talking about 2 Extreme, but I remember just being like, all these games are really bad. I think I had like 4 games. It was like, right, it was like biking, rollerblading, 2 other ones I don't remember.
Was different, typically focusing more on reaching a goal while landing the occasion.
This is Street Skater or Street Skater 2, which was basically like do Top Skater without the physical deck, and this was not good. We played this on stream and I was like, oh, I'm not even gonna publish this because we stopped playing in like 10 minutes.
No trick. Games like Sega's Top Skater were a major influence.
Yo, yeah, look at that. I just called that.
In fact, this was the original design direction that Pro Skater itself was set to follow. That is until the never...
So I will say I talked with Joel Jewett about Top Skater, if he'd ever played it. He's like, dude, there was a bowling alley across the street from Neversoft. I'm pretty sure it was Corbin Bowl, actually, specifically. Anyway, he said there was a Top Skater machine there that they would play all the time, and that was really what inspired Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1.
Soft team famous.
So he's like, yeah, we played it. Like, it was literally what started this whole thing. Like,
realized how fun it was to chain tricks together.
Actually, I'm just kidding. He just said, well, we used AI tools to determine what sort of game we should work on next, and that... No, I'm just kidding.
Countless games were following the same blueprint.
Ooh, what is that? Grind Session? We played that. That was garbage. I mean, it wasn't as bad as I remembered it, but it was pretty bad.
The PS2 was notoriously difficult to master early on, and many developers struggled to harness its potential. Neversoft, however, was ready. When
Renderware, man. Mick West.
Skater 3 was unveiled at E3 2001, the playable...
looks so good. You know, it looks dated, right? Like, this looks like an old game, but it still, like, looks good. It doesn't look like hot garbage. You know, like, some of those other games, they just showed, like, even the animation of the skater, and it just looked really, like, bland and uninspired. Like,
demo made it clear that...
yeah, it aged well, yeah.
Weirdly enough, as somebody already on the internet at the time, one of my standout memories is when Jeff Gerstmann awarded...
Oh, my God. Jeff Gerstmann. Giant Bomb, right? Man, he's been around forever. He's like 75 years old. I think we're like this. No, he's older than me. Yeah, because he's writing reviews in 2001. I'm like still playing games in school. Anyway.
The game a perfect 10 out of 10 on GameSpot.com. It resonates.
I don't even remember this. I don't even remember him giving it a perfect 10. But dude, Tony 3 is my favorite game of all time. Like, I played this game more than any other game by far. And it's like basically why I am here, why I am who I am.
Pro Skater 3 is a 10 out of 10.
It
Even
is.
in a year as stacked as 2001,
The only problem with Tony 3 that probably not a lot of people even know or even will think about ever in their life until right now is that if you played it online, it was literally the first PS2 online game, and you had to buy a third-party Ethernet adapter from Linksys or D-Link or whatever to connect to the internet, and it worked. But when you played online, collisions for you running into other players was on, and it stayed on. There was no way to turn it off. And so when you're trying to get a high score, you're playing competitively, or you're just trying to free skate, you would constantly get knocked over and knock other people over. And the deciding factor was who's going faster. So if I'm going faster than you, I'm knocking you over, and vice versa. But sometimes some players would be still, like flat landing or done with their run, and they're unable to skate, and they're just standing in place. You would like run into them to hit them, but then they would hit you instead. It's so like a guy just standing there done with this run would knock you over sometimes. And think about it. If you're in a trick attack and everyone's doing the same line and you all have to start in the same half pipe, you literally had to wait for your turn in the half pipe. Like, dude, it's so funny. Here. So like in LA, there's like you know, the Finley Tower, I think it's called, which is the last name of the designer that designed LA. There's the blue fountain here. This is going to be such like a Boomer Andy moment, but I think you guys might want to hear about this because it's kind of funny. This was like the reality. Look at this perspective drawing that I'm doing right now. Like just off. Okay, that I just butchered it. Never mind. I started talking myself up. So you guys know what I'm talking about? There's like glass here. And so the best place to start was in this half pipe. When you would transfer up there and someone was already there, you had to like wait down here. And then sometimes you were like skilled enough to like wall right up and like wait on the deck. But if someone's doing 3 to 4 air vert air tricks before they do the last one and they leave to like grind the quarter pipe here and then do the their great series, and then they go off and do the line start, it's just total chaos with 4 players and the collisions are on and you have to wait your turn. And so here's the deal. When you start a combo in Tony 3, you have to be able to time your boneless correctly, which basically means you take off right about here to get a 1080. And if you don't get it, you get a 900 and you would most likely bail. So if you go up, you miss your 1080 and bail, some people were like, okay, it's my turn now. But then the person who missed their 1080 was like, no, let me. It was just like, sometimes you'd spend the entire 2 minutes where everybody's just like getting hung up on each other in the first half pipe and no one actually gets their combo started. So it's like a total shirt show. And the number one request for Tony 4 online was being able to turn off collision because they went from 4 to 8 players online. Like, ugh. And so it was off by default, but you could turn it on in Tony 4 online. And just to add to that, if you look top down on Rio, you know, basically it's like, you know, a circular flow, and the better way to go was clockwise. And so the second some noob came into your server, if it wasn't password protected, they would just be like going counterclockwise and they'd knock you over and like just insta ban. Some people would have clockwise only in their server title, or ban, clockwise or ban. Anyway, history lesson.
If the manual in Pro Skater 2 defined the combo system, then the revert in Pro Skater 3 completed it, allowing players to seamlessly continue lines from vert ramp.
I will say that like the revert wasn't as a big a deal that people make it seem to be. Like, obviously it's like, yeah, I'll take it, it's cool, whatever, but like you could have just made it to where we could manual out of quarter pipes. You didn't need to add like another mechanic. And also you can revert on flat ground in real skateboarding, so why are we limiting it to quarter pipes? But manualing was just way more effective and tied everything together very gracefully, and I think the reverts were a good addition. But after the manual, Tony Hawk games were kind of just like chomping at like, okay, what else can we do? Because how do we sell this thing and make it more fun? Here, I'm doing it again. Oh God, he's taking another snip. So I will say that like in this case, like you don't need a revert to continue your combo here. You could ollie off to the right and grind this rail. Or I'm pretty sure if you ollied off this, it leads you to a quarter pipe that's like down below So you would jump off and land on this grind. There's like so many ways to continue your combo without using a revert. Like Tony 2 guys are doing it and Tony 1 guys are doing it for so long. But it's nice. I'm not bashing the revert. I'm just saying it's not like an amazing addition. It's just fine. It's like, okay, thanks.
Across large stages. Combine that.
Reverting feels way more satisfying than just mailing would. I think you're right about that. There's something about just like mechanically, it was like a fun little gameplay element.
Even crazier, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 is the first PlayStation 2 game with full online play support. The official adapter was not even on the market at this time, requiring USB adapters instead, but it was possible.
Do I whip it out? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Here, I've done this before. I still have mine. I'm whipping it out. Look, this is the one that I use in Tony Hawk 3. So this is like a USB port, right? You plug it into here and you plug this into your PS2. And this is the Ethernet port that you plug into your router or your cable modem. This is it. This is the same one I used. Here, you guys can even have the serial number. This adapter is older than many people watching this stream right now. Dude, 100%. This is it. It's the same one I used. I don't know why I hung on to it, but I still have it.
Now,
So yeah, Sony's official network adapter came out that following December. There was like a 3-month gap where Sony didn't have an official network adapter, and if you wanted to play online, you had to buy one of these. And I think Sony was even kind of pissed that they like this was in the user manual of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Like, if you want to play online, you got to buy one of these things. And there's like an online website with like a walkthrough on how to do it. Tony Hawk 3 Online was made up of like 4 servers tops, like maybe 16 people were playing, and I was like, you know, always on from the beginning. But the second the network adapter dropped, it was like 25 servers, and then Christmas dropped, it was like 100 or like maybe like 80, maybe not that much, like 60 to 80 servers at a time, and we called them Christmas noobs. Oh man, it was like a field day for us experienced players. We just go into any server and just mop anyone and just get banned because they're like, oh, you're cheating and blah blah blah. But
Neversoft transitioned from its own internal technology to the renderware engine.
Wait, how old is this? 2001.
Enhanced technology. When you compare this to the original 2 games,
dude, look at the side by side, man. It's so funny. Look at the draw distance alone on Tony 2. Dude, I remember that being a thing. That's so funny. And then God, the butteriness and even the crispness, like the poly count on the skater, the poly count on the level alone, just from a still frame, is like so crazy. And then the resolution, like the timer, look how much padding is in between the timer and the edge of the screen here. And how big the numbers had to be for you to even be able to read it. Anyway.
Huge leap. Pro Skater 3
was it 25 FPS? Because I was like, was it 30? Because I feel like it was more like 17 or something. It was 30 FPS, but never managed to reach it. Yeah, I remember playing on Duck Station and trying to optimize it and adjust settings so it did hit 30 FPS, but it just felt like it never. But even at 30 FPS, for a game like Tony, it's not enough granularity for the intricacies of the button presses. Like it's such like a quick twitch reaction type game that like 30 FPS is just not enough frames per second to be precise with your inputs.
Entire stages are now visible from corner to corner. Not only does it look fantastic.
Wait, nothing. Well, hold on. 20 FPS for NTSC PS1. You couldn't really get 25 FPS unless you played PAL. Wow.
I remember loading it up for the first time and seeing the Foundry stage, the adolescent song Amoeba playing. It honestly blew.
Dude, gotta push back there. AFI's The Boy Who Destroyed the World is the first song on Tony 3. So actually, this guy's a liar. And okay.
And developer Shaba Games would go on to directly work on that series as well. Heck, they got their start with Grind Session, published by Sony itself on the original PlayStation.
It's so
a
bad.
Decent little game in its own right.
No, it's not.
Now, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 was, of course, the headline game.
I gotta say, like, even looking at this, like, just it didn't age well, and I think back then it wasn't good either. Like, looking at the skater animations, it's like, man, if you didn't have good animations, it kind of made it was a make or break situation. Like, something about it just doesn't look good or feel good, and that's like a big part of what makes these games look good and play well, is like how it looks and how it feels when you initiate these animations, and like, you know, when the start is, you know, when the stop is, the blending, and like it just looks awkward. And it's crazy how it matters. And even looking back at this, it's just like, it doesn't look charming at all. It just looks like kind of crummy. But when you look back at a Tony game, you're like, dang, still holds up. Yeah, Thrasher did it well. Thrasher was sick.
Which brings us to our first DF Retro showdown of the day. How does it compare to the other versions?
Well, it wasn't on Xbox, was it, Mr. DF Retro?
Well, the GameCube version launched first alongside the system in late November.
It eventually came out on Xbox, though, didn't it? Dang it. Okay, you win this time.
Just a month after the game on PlayStation 2. It's not an exclusive, but it was one heck of a game to have available on day one, and frankly, this port's pretty good. Pro Skater 3 is visually almost on par or slightly superior to the PlayStation 2 version, depending on how you look at it.
No.
There's both good and bad here. The color depth is a little higher, so there's less dithering than on PlayStation 2. It also employs a flicker filter, which may or may not be a positive, depending on who you ask, and it runs smoothly. Unfortunately, the bitmap selection bias seems to be set rather high on the GameCube version, but essentially it means that textures on oblique surfaces such as the ground appear much blurred.
I'm trying to see what he's talking about, but I think like I've played, like literally was a tester on Thug and Thug 2, and I hated playing the GameCube version because it always ran worse and it looked worse. For Tony 3 though, like maybe he has some points, but I'm looking at these side by sides and I'm like, give me PS2 all day. Look at the logo on the shirt. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess it's like sort of who, like, do you want it to look like left or right? It's, I don't know. To me, like, I'll take right. Maybe I'm just biased. I need to Pepsi challenge these screenshots, but I think would rather take the PS2 version. Like, I'm just thinking of the controller, so I don't know.
PlayStation 2. The assets are the same, but as you can see in this example here, the low resolution mid-maps kick in right near the player.
Whoa. Maybe he's right. Oh.
The main issue with the GameCube version really comes down to controls. I mean, they're not bad per se, but the GameCube controller itself feels a little weird for Tony Hawk, and I just couldn't really get my head around it. It didn't feel great. But this is something...
Dude, like one less... What it really boils down to is like, okay, personal preference. Yeah, but one less shoulder button for spinning. So it's going to be worse for Tony Hawk.
The Xbox version of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 then launched a few months later in March of 2002. And it's clear right away that this port did receive some extra polish, including a brand new stage, the oil rig.
It's like literally everyone just gets like oil rig jump scares.
Beyond that, many textures have been upgraded to a higher quality.
Yeah, I mean, the left looks so much better. Look, I never owned an Xbox. I did test on it at Neversoft, but like, dude, so the controller of PS2, hands down the best, especially for Tony. But yeah, looking at these screenshots, left and right, left looks better. You just look at the fence on the right, like the fencing, that's it. Oh, but look at the texture on the ground. And like over here, like look how wild that changes. And then like almost like the blurriness of this compact almost is like covering, like it stylistically, it's like I would almost prefer the right over the left. But I mean, this is like objectively better looking, right? Was this oil rig Slainer such a good no man? Okay, whatever, dude. Look, oil rig I think is D tier at best. I think it's one of those levels where it's like, okay, if you start to memorize a lot of it, and it takes a lot to memorize it, like you could start to really put some stuff together. But man, surrounding your level with water is like a death wish to begin. And then having it being multi-level, where it's just like you're trying to find ways in between, and then you just are constantly being led off the edge into the, it's just, I just don't think it's a good level.
But other than that, it is pretty much the same game, just slightly upgraded. And for those reasons, I would say the Xbox Edition is often considered the definitive version of Pro Skater 3. There's only one caveat here, the controller. At launch, the only option was the original.
Remember this thing? I remember how much Xbox got like criticized just for being large. Xbox is very large. The console is large. The controller is large. It's just like the Duke. Is that what they called it? This thing is crazy though. And then they have to make a separate version of the controller for Japan because people just had like smaller hands over there. Is that true? I've barely held one of these things. Like I used it at Neversoft briefly, but like I would test on PS2, but if there was an Xbox or GameCube specific bug, I would test on those. If I wanted to find crashes on burn day, I would play GameCube. So Xbox, usually I would test like progressive scan or whatever the thing was for widescreen. But anyway, it's great if you have big meaty hands. I think I have a normal hand. I don't know. R1 was on the front. Wait, start select is here. Start select. What's happening here? Is this R1 and L1? What is that? What is this? What are the black and white buttons? I don't remember. I'm not a real gamer. The flashlight button for Halo CE. The Duke feels like generative AI.
Outside of these consoles, however, Pro Skater 3 saw a native release for Windows and Mac OS. To evaluate the PC port, we ran it on era-appropriate hardware, a Pentium 4.
I would be... Oh my god, he ran it on appropriate hardware. I was just going to say I'll be surprised if he got it to run. I will say Tony 3 PC was the best version of Tony 3. They had like, I want to say 8 game modes. That's where they first introduced Control Zone, Capture the Flag. Oh my god, any PC players? But it was all about Capture the Flag. Capture the Flag Airport was what people played all day, and we didn't have Capture the Flag on PS2. Oh, Keep Away. It was Control Zone, Capture the Flag, Keep Away, and then something else. Can't remember what it was. But this dude used the actual Pentium 4 to run this. It's so funny. Because you won't be able to install this on modern day machines unless you get Party Mod.
3 GHz paired with a GeForce 4 Ti 4800 running Windows XP.
Wow.
It's configured for 1024 by 760.
Dude, it looks so much better. Yeah, dude. This is... PC is the way to play. 100%. Even in this day and age, I'm still like, dude, GeForce 4 Ti, that's an expensive card these days. But the shadow looks good. It's way more high res. It's way less jaggedy. It looks like it could have used more transparency, actually. Like, it looks like it has like no opacity at all.
There's also a difference with shadow rendering where all the shadows appear pitch black on PC.
Yeah.
Given the proximity
Sorry to spoiler, whatever.
to its release date, perhaps the developers had seen the Doom 3 tech demos just prior.
Yeah, I think transparency, it's like every console has their own tricks for it, and it's like, so when you're porting, it's one of those things you have to like reflag and have like, whatever.
But the key here is that every major release of Pro Skater 3, whether on console or PC, sustained a high level of quality.
True.
This was certainly not a guarantee back then, so it was refreshing to see it handled so well.
Also
But
true.
We've only covered the ports derived from the PlayStation 2 version, you know, the actual Neversoft game. But Pro Skater 3 also landed on last generation consoles.
Yeah,
and
it did.
The Game Boy Advance. So how did it fare?
Dude, the GBA ones were sick. I mean, and then the PS1 ones were like good in their own way, but if you had a PS2 or a next gen console, like you're not playing those old games. Like 60 FPS, that's it. It's over.
Well, going back all the way to 2001.
If you had the choice between 60 FPS or 25 or whatever, like, dude, yeah, it's Jover. And look at this. There's a ledge in front of this rail. Oh my god, it's crazy. And this is VV, right? I'm pretty sure VV made this game. Or did Shaba do 3? I know VV did 4.
In the franchise. This entry comes to us from none other than Shaba Games,
There
the
it
same
is,
studio
Shaba.
behind Grind Session and Matt Hoffman.
It's just so crazy that they did Grind Session too. And like, now they get to do the Tony. It's so crazy.
Pro BMX.
I had lunch with these guys during Thug 2 because they were making the PSP version. They came in for like consulting for us to like consult them on like the PSP version of Thug 2 Remix. And I went to lunch with and dinner with the level designers, and they were super cool. And I was like, dang, like if I get fired from Neversoft, maybe I'll go work for Shaba. Also, rest in peace, Shaba. Anyway.
And what a challenge it must have been, because they've adapted many of the same maps from the PlayStation 2 game using the base technology that powered Pro
This is unrecognizable. This looks like Suburbia, but I could be totally wrong.
Skater 2. Straight
Yeah.
away, the menu tries to mimic the look of the PS2 version, but it's built
No NPC in the back. There's no NPCs in 1 or 2. Yeah, anything on PS1, no NPCs.
and the draw distance is significantly reduced. On larger maps like Los Angeles,
Dude, it's so funny. Yeah, like it's all about reduction of polys, right? So anytime there's a curve, Like, look at the rail. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not the wavy ledge. They're just like, no, just make it straight. And like the stairs, basically they took a staircase that was probably, let's just say 800 polys, and they made it like, you could count these like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 8, and then another like, let's just say this is like 32 polys instead of 400. So it's like pretty good savings right there.
Ultimately, the maps were clearly conceived for hardware more capable than the PlayStation, and dialing them back this far undermines the whole experience.
True.
Despite these technical shortcomings, however, it's still a solid...
Whoa, hold on. The election to make... Okay, first of all, like, whenever you add something transparent into a level, the programmers are like, please stop, don't do that, please, performance, have you considered performance? And this, to me, feels like an opportunity that they could have made a wall that was already there instead of electing for transparency. So
still a solid Tony Hawk game at its heart.
I don't think he's going to go over this, but it's a subtle, horrible thing that happened to these PS1 ports is that when you do a revert, it's not a unique revert animation. It is this switching stance animation. Like when you hit R2, when you're on the ground and you switch stance, look, they use that animation for a revert. So you're like, wait, did I do a revert or am I just switching stance? And like, I will say that it seemed like 8 out of 10 times you do a revert in these PS1 ports, it doesn't actually work. And I'm pretty sure it doesn't work if you do it after time. And I think if you jump out of it, it starts a new combo, so it's just like totally busted.
However, next to Tony Hawk 2's Game Boy Advance port, I felt that the levels on which this version is based were simply a little too complex, and the spatial reading of them became
anytime there was multi-layers, like an underpass or like a freeway or a bridge or something you skate under or like go on top of in GB, I remember that being a problem. It was always like sorting, like what am I actually going to run into?
Or almost. You see, there's one more left to discuss.
Oh my god, dude, I don't even think they went, dude, for Game Boy Tony 1, that I almost feel like we should try and play that on stream because that is garbanzo beans. It is so bad.
And that's Hot Gen Studios' conversion for the Game Boy Color. That's right, like Tony Hawk 1 and
I don't know if I've seen this.
2 before it, the third game also received
oh my
a Game
god
Boy Color conversion, and it's not bad.
I don't think I've seen this.
Primarily, the game plays from a side-scrolling perspective, but if you hold up an invert ramp, it takes you to the second layer, allowing for some fairly complex layered levels. It still kind of mimics the structure of the main game, but is obviously simplified. In terms of mechanics, it's quite different from the not so...
Oh my god, this is Tony 2. Okay, I didn't play this either, but I played Tony 1 on Game Boy, and it was so bad. It reminds me more of like this.
We wouldn't see Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 return again until 2025, which finally brings us to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
All right, whatever. We're here now. We knew it was. Let's just do it.
Skater 3 and 4 for modern platforms. Now,
it's funny to watch how garbage these games we just watched were. And then to watch this and be like, oh, this game, you know what I mean? Like, it's like such like a, oh, your diamond slippers are too tight too, I bet, like kind of moment where it's like, just, no, but you need the context of, we waited 5 years for this and it's the same game as 1 and 2. Okay, sorry.
Now, this specific release is precisely what sparked the creation of this video. And honestly, I have to say, Iron Galaxy did a great job here.
I'm leaving. I'm actually leaving. Oh god, it's so annoying. I cannot stand the naivete. They did such a good job, dude. Miss me with that. VV did a good job making this game.
Modern technology has allowed the artists to unleash beautiful new lighting and effects work across the board, which really helps increase the atmosphere.
Dude, paid chatter so hard right now. Although I will say, I just got through saying that the only one positive takeaway from the 3 and 4 remakes is like the levels look really good, and they generally speaking play better than the originals. Not looking at you, Zoo.
Brazil's colorful skate park now really pops in this new.
I actually don't like. I think this colorful, like I said before, it's like you're remastering a game. Artists have to find a way to sort of like raise the bar in terms of look. I prefer the old look of Rio. I would prefer it to be at noon, daytime. I don't really care for all the ground graffiti. I think it looked better with just concrete, personally, but I think it was easier to read. But that's just me.
Especially when played on an HDR display.
Brazil, not Rio, Brazil. Oh, is that what he said?
Brazil's colorful skate park now really pops in this new entry, especially when played on an HDR.
Dude, if he gets to water park and calls it a good level, I'm done. Dude, I am... What's the over on that? Should we... Hold on, let's do a prediction. I'm doing a prediction.
And let's not forget Tokyo, with its striking neon signs everywhere and smoothly...
So I think he's just going to glaze all the new levels. I think he's going to say all these levels are good. All the 3 new ones are good. And I think he's going to say Chicago and Carnival weren't that good anyway. I think this is just going to be like surface level marketing baloney.
But flip over to the PlayStation 2 original, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like obvious. Like, it looks just way better. Like, it's not even a question. It's cool to see the side-by-sides. I've never really checked it out.
In the original, everything's got this sort of like grayish...
I prefer this. I don't care. Like, whatever.
Monochromatic hue to it. But the remake goes crazy with...
Dude, it doesn't... This is subjective. Look, objectively, higher res, better frame rate. Like, of course, this looks better on the left. But... I just don't need all that. Like, the graffiti on the quarter pipes is good. Like, there's other ways to differentiate things. You got lights on the wires above. That's cool. I mean, whatever. That's just personal opinion. But
colors, especially in stages like Brazil.
And I'm probably in the... Brazil, by the way. I'm probably in the minority. I don't think this floor is better than this. I think there's other ways they could have gone about it. I don't know. It just feels too busy to me. Yeah, skating would suck on that. I was thinking that too. I'd never even realized that. But look at the cracks in this. This would suck. Imagine if this was in your skate park and you had to skate over these cracks. I'd be like, who designed this? Cobblestone. Yeah, it's cobblestone energy. Is this cobblestone? It looks like some like mosaic, like art in the ground, but it's just not. It looks, I don't want to skate on that.
I do think like Tony Hawk's 1 and 2.
BFM, I know. I know that's exactly what we're doing. Like, I'm not mad at Digital Foundry, and like, this is a total surface level take on the entire series, and like, I get it, but I'm here to give my take, and if we disagree, we agree, so be it. I'm not mad at anyone.
Before it, they've done a phenomenal job here. I was surprised by some of the reactions online though. I saw complaints about the UI being too corporate now, devoid of...
Okay, that, I know what video he's talking about. I disagree with that heavily. The only thing I would complain about the UI is this black box. Digital Foundry got one guy. Dude, true. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Letters don't bleed off the screen like in Tony Hawk 3. Well, they didn't do that in Tony Hawk 4 either. But we always go through this every time a new game is...
Yeah, I saw that too. And I think that was in the same video. I was like, who cares? If anything, like, we have the option to turn off the trick screen because it gets in the way.
And based on my testing, there really aren't any major technical differences between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So things like...
Yeah, because it's the same thing.
Resolution, image quality, frame rate.
They did change the balance meter color after complaints. I didn't even notice, to be honest.
Also runs at 60 frames per second this time, and even
Switch 1 is Garbo, Switch 2 is good.
Supports HDR.
That sounds right.
So it's a huge improvement over the Switch 1 version. Alas, the soundtrack has been refreshed as well, and this has become somewhat of a sticking point for many fans. For whatever reason, this new version is missing many of the music tracks that were included in the original.
You know what's funny? How many hours do I have on this? 118 hours. I have not listened to any of the soundtrack. I said it a gazillion times. One, I can't listen to the soundtrack because I stream and put videos on YouTube. Two, I play this game so much that the soundtrack gets so stale, repetitive, and boring after like a week tops. And so I mute it. I always have, even since Tony 1, I've muted the soundtrack because I just put on my own music. But three, in this day and age with like Spotify, YouTube, and all these ways to have any music you want at your fingertips for free, ad free too. And like back then, you had to go out and buy a CD or a cassette or like whatever, burn your own CD to like have these like music compilations. So it was like a big problem to get music. It was just difficult to get the music you wanted, or even to learn about new music and listen to radio or something. So when Tony 1 came out with like a soundtrack, a playlist, and it had like new music people hadn't been hearing, it was like a way to find out new music. And it was so amazing to just have that as a bonus. Same with 2, same with 3, same with 4. But as soon as we started getting to like Thug and Thug 2, it was just like literally Napster was like a sponsor of Thug 2. It was like an in-game ad. There was utility behind having soundtracks to video games, and Tony Hawk games certainly coined that, and that's why people still talk about them, I think. But to me, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But I think the surface level fans who play these games way back in the day hold that, like, the nostalgia here, and so when they remake these games, they don't have the same soundtracks or that one song that they loved and heard all the time. They don't have that in the remakes. They get upset about it. But for me, dude, I'm going on mute, and if I play offline, like, I'm gonna be talking to homies on Discord and maybe have like a Twitch stream up or a podcast up or like some of my own music or whatever music I'm working on or like learning, or just like I'm putting on like Get Up Kids or like Cave In or like whatever. Like, I'm just not. Yeah, I just don't care. But I understand why people talk about it. I just wish they would stop. Soundtrack literally defines the soundtracks more than any other game. And he literally has a shirt saying he would rather be listening to Tony soundtrack right now. I understand. And I don't wear that shirt because of that reason. That shirt was given to me by Activision marketing. So it feels weird to wear it because I don't like believe in what it says on the shirt. So bad take. Yeah. I think most people say that's a bad take because they don't play this game as much as I do. And if you listen to the same 12 songs on repeat for more than 120 hours and you're still not sick of it, then all right, man, enjoy. But I'm going to listen to my own music after that. Also, I got to say, the music in the first two games, maybe the third one too. No, it's the first two games. They only had the first 2 minutes of the song. So you're not even getting the full song. So a lot of people don't even know what the bridge to Superman sounds like. It was only in the first game 2 had the full song. Really? I think you're right. Okay, you win this round, Twitch chat, but I still stand by my soundtrack take. Like, it's not even just Tony games, it's every game I turn off, unless it's like a one player, like curated linear experience, you know, like music that's made for the game to like escalate tension and like accentuate certain moments. Like, I'm muting the soundtrack. If you say that this is a bad take, that's totally fair. You probably just didn't play this game that much, or any of these games that much.
Matt Hoffman came first with a sequel to Pro BMX by a different developer. This time it was developed by Rainbow Studios, a company that had made serious waves with a slew of off-road racing games,
Off-Road Fury,
Madness, and ATV Off-Road Fury, as well as its water sports series, Splashdown. The other game is Kelly Slater's Pro Surfer, developed by Treyarch.
Here it is, the beach level. Dude, Treyarch. This is how they got their start before the Call of Duty fame.
Yes, that Treyarch. Both games are perfectly serviceable, I would say. Compared to Tony Hawk,
look at the beach level.
Bring players closer to the respective cover figures, often leaning on FMV sequences or other framing concepts. So there's a little bit more going on here. Pro BMX.
I have thousands of hours collectively between 4 through Thaw. I don't get sick of the music. Something could be wrong with me. Can we pin that?
Of the two, I definitely prefer BMX 2.
Dude, look at Chicago, man. We could have had this, but we got Water Park.
Unfortunately, unlike Tony Hawk 3 and Sean Palmer's game from 2001, both of
this is Vegas, right? Dude, I remember I've played this on Thug Pro and Rethought, I think, and or maybe just Thug Pro. And I remember thinking like, oh, this was so close to being good, and then it just wasn't.
So all eyes shifted towards Neversoft's next release, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. Essentially, rather than simply presenting a series of goals for each map, the goals themselves are integrated into the map itself.
What a concept, man. What's that like?
The standout addition this time is the spline transfer, which allows smooth transitions between quarter.
Did he
pipes.
say, whoa.
Sketching also
Did he say spline transfer?
Match the impact of the manual or the revert. The standout addition this time is the spline transfer.
He did say spline transfer. I wonder if he knows, or if that was just like, look, I flub my words all the time. But man, I think he just like misspoke, but we'll see if he says it again. That's such a horrible, stupid nitpick for me to make, but if he's like spending 45 minutes on like this retrospective and like the box, like the back of the box features, spine, whatever.
Pro Skater 4 limits you to one goal at a time. Completing it abruptly ends the event, prompting a save or character upgrade.
Yeah, so this is my biggest thing, and I said this a gazillion times. Like, the flow after every goal takes forever in Tony 4. At least the intro you can skip through, but like, they could have fixed this in the remake. It would have been way better if you could just X through, or just like a quick drop off, almost like a WoW quest drop off, where you just hit the thing and then accept and just move on. Like, there's so many different ways to combat this and to make it better. Oh yeah, and there's no autosave, so you have to save and wait. But like, I don't know, man. Back in the day when I was like not speedrunning, but just trying to get it, I just wouldn't save. I would like do it once a level maybe, but
issue with the game. The campaign is good, but it's not all that fun to replay, and there's a lot of tedium involved. It just doesn't have that same pickup.
I think Tony 4 is like the best career. Like, okay, they all have their own charms and stuff that's like unique to each and they have defining qualities, but I think 4 has the best goals. The pro challenges and the pro skater challenges are amazing, and I feel like that's something that the rest of the titles should have got too. Those were awesome. But when you have something like Thug, it's like you have the story, the cutscenes, and like that was its own thing. But in terms of content, if you're skipping through the cutscenes and stuff, Tony 4 is the best career in my opinion. Thug 2, Thug 1, like all the Tony games up till like I didn't care for Project 8 or Proving Grounds, but 1 through 7, all good in their own way. 4 is my favorite.
And play energy as the first 3 titles. Thankfully, the
4 aged horribly. I disagree with that so much. The only thing that didn't age well is the end of each goal. You have to wait through all those screens, which I've said that sucks.
Maps themselves are still a highlight. Many feature excellent layouts with creative lines and trick opportunities. Kona is one of my favorites with a beautifully realized.
Kona is objectively like one of the least played levels in Tony Hawk history. Like Zoo, Suburbia, Kona, Boston. Okay, whatever.
Curiously, the console versions include a Chicago map, which was actually lifted straight from Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX 2.
I gotta assume that the reason why that they did this is just time. They're like, we don't have enough people, we don't have enough time. Pretty sure they're just like, how can we get some quick content in the game? And this is like a good way to do it.
This map plays okay in BMX 2, but it's kind of dull for Tony Hawk as there's a lot.
Big disagree. Chicago is a great map. I think it's an A tier. I think most people like this, especially the experienced players that played online. Chicago is a really good map. It had missed face flagging on like these walls, like you couldn't wall ride them. But dude, if they brought back this for Tony 3 and 4, it would have been so sick. Like objectively better than Water Park or Movie Studio or Zoo even, or Suburbia or Kona, or what was the other one that they made? Pinball. Oh god. Ugh.
This is the first Tony Hawk game to natively support 720p HD, which was an incredible feat for 2002. If you had the right setup,
feat mentioned,
an HD TV and component cables for your Xbox, it looked stunning. In addition, the Xbox version also
dude, the colors here, I mean, maybe it's just, I don't know, but it looks so saturated. Like, you know, if this is all you're looking at, it's not bad. I mean, this looks pretty. Like, I would smash. Like, it's good. But it's crazy how saturated it is.
But what's interesting about this one is that a company called Semi-Logic Interactive ported the GBA game to something called the Tapwave Zodiac.
Oh my god, yeah.
media gaming hybrid.
Dude, how much do Tapwave Zodiacs go for on eBay? $2,549. Do we do it? Dude, this is when you unpause and it gives you the first note of TNT. I will never forget this.
The series wasn't done with
T.
This time, Vicarious Visions handled this conversion, squeezing in as much as the aging platform could possibly handle. Quite frankly, they did such a good job with this that in some ways
it was good.
The original.
And I gotta say, this is a testament to how you could get this game done in under 9 months. It's already been designed. They can't even add NPCs or any characters walking around. See what they did? They just had icons you go up and talk to. Ugh, God.
What do I mean? Well, they managed to keep the mission structure intact, but didn't have the resources to display characters. So goals are only displayed as icons.
Dude, I'm just like predicting this so hard.
That doesn't sound better, right? Well, here's the thing. When you accept or complete missions in this version, the game doesn't interrupt you as it does in normal Pro Skater 4. I
gotta say that I would prefer, one of the biggest design flaws in this game is like, not the fact that there's no NPCs or that it like doesn't interrupt, whatever, any of that. It doesn't spawn you at a spawn point that points you in the direction of the goal. So if you're like about to start a combo goal and you go talk to one of these icons, you're just facing the way you're facing, and the combo letters could be behind you. And that was one of the biggest missteps in this game, and was really confusing at first, because I'm like, okay, I can score while I look at this wall. I'll just turn around. But if there's like skate letters or like an object, like the hall pass or whatever, like it doesn't point me in the direction of where it wants me to go, which is super crucial.
Cruise up, hit circle, and start going. When you complete an objective, the game reports what you've done, and you just continue.
Dude, yeah, and no end scene, no outro thing, like no text, no prompt to save, no prompt to upgrade. This was a better format for sure.
Of course, it also means the world feels emptier, and there's really not that much going on here, but I thought it was better in terms of pure gameplay. Of course, by this point, the old PlayStation engine was showing its limitations.
I gotta hand it to whoever this is. Digital Foundry, 1.5 million subscribers, 38k views. Y'all should give them props and credit, because going back, getting all the equipment and hooking up and doing these side-by-side comparisons is a lot of work. So I got to hand it to them. So claps in the chat for them, like 100%. This is a very elaborate, like, I don't think I'll ever get into this much detail. Even my like Tony 3 and 4 review video, I don't think will be this long and that intricate. I don't think people want to watch something that crazy long and intricate for me, but this is crazy good. This is like a lot of sauce, if you know what I mean.
Digital Foundry is the GOAT channel.
Honestly, I don't think I've ever heard of them, so shout out to Digital Foundry.
But doing so required shrinking them down. Alas, I didn't get much time to play this one, but
I do like the approach of like optimization. You know what we were saying, like in Tony 3 with the staircase, they literally cut the corners. Like they make something that was curvy into something straight, and they have to figure out how to make it work and get under the budget restraints for PS1. And so like the stadium is gone here, you know, from PS2, and it's almost like you get so many creative liberties. Well, it's like, okay, well, the stadium's gone, what do we do instead? And like you see how they make these design decisions to make it work, and there's a lot of creative liberties to just sort of make something cool out of it, and take something that you have to cut and make something cool out of it instead and make it work. So
I enjoyed it.
Also, yeah, zero stairs make every level ADA compliant. True.
Whatever the reason, the series would march on, making further changes to the formula from this point, including a
Hated this intro. I don't know about y'all. This Thug 1 intro was not it for me. I didn't like it.
You see, as we know now, in building this new version of the game, Activision opted to make drastic changes to Pro Skater 4. Rather than recreating the original single-player mode, the game was rebuilt in the classic model with a series of goals and a 2-minute timer. When this was announced, a lot of fans were bummed, but
Bummed? Oof. It's putting it lightly.
With the larger maps, there was also a concern that maybe the classic formula wouldn't work all that well. In the end, though, I would argue that it does actually work, but it's not without fault. So,
oh, man. Oh, I was going to say that, like, all the problems, quote, like, subjective problems with the Tony 4 career on PS2 could have been addressed. It could have been fixed. They basically fixed it in the PS1 version, as he just went over. Like I said, I only played through Tony 4 career once on PS2 back in the day. And it was like because of that. It just wasn't that fun to replay, but they could have made it fun. They could have made it a speedrun mode. You know, like they had a per level speedrun mode on Tony 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. They could have made it an entire career speedrun too. Like it's just, aside from that, they could have made it flow way better. And there's so many opportunity for growth and making it better instead of cutting back. You're remastering a game to make it as good or better. This is making it worse objectively. This should have been a 2-minute option in addition to the original Tony 4 career mode, and I will die on that hill. I don't care.
So if you weren't already familiar with the fourth game, it's possible that the size of these maps might actually be an issue. But of course, you can always use Freeskate to explore and learn them first. At the same time, there's arguments to be made that they've failed to preserve the original game and have made something entirely different as a result,
yes,
which is also true.
Yes,
but at
thank
the same
you.
time, those originals still exist, so I'm kind of split on this whole thing.
No. You can't do that. You can't just like remaster a game. Like look at Diablo 2 Remaster, which they made as good and definitely better. There's some like quirks and stuff that are not consistent with the original Diablo 2, but like no one's buying a remake or a remaster and saying, oh, I'm buying this so I can go back to the old one and play that. Like, I'm sorry, you're buying it because this is going to be as good or better. What is the point of remaking something or remastering something if it's not better or as good even? Like, what is the point? I'm getting all fired up right now.
If they decide to continue with this path of remaking classic Hawk games, though, they're going to have to figure it out, because Tony Hawk's Underground without the proper missions...
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Oh, and let me finish this thought. Let me let him finish his thought.
Really wouldn't be the same game. At least there's some cool new content here. Firstly, the water park map.
No! God. This dude thinks water park is part of the... Hold on, let's let him finish. Hold on.
This one is brand new, and my goodness, it's gorgeous.
Oh God, stop! It's
It replaces
paint.
the carnival...
It's like nails on a chalkboard.
Chicago maps, which have gone missing. And frankly, I think it's a lot better than both of them.
Oh my God, no! It's so bad. No! Just stop.
Water parks.
Just close.
I was instantly...
Stream's over, man. I'm out later. This is so bad. Okay, whatever. Like, I know I'm being dramatic, but like...
Then there's the movie set map, which is arguably the best new map in the game. I prefer
God,
the
it's
look
so
of the water
painful.
park, but the movie set perfectly...
How do we just called this from a mile away that this dude was just gonna glaze all the new maps? Like 100... Oh God.
This new release injects some much needed color to the world, creating something that's just bursting with thick, beautiful...
These descriptors are crazy right now. Okay, hold on.
atmosphere. Truly fantastic stuff. However, they didn't just remake the levels and call it a day. In order to make the formula work, the new levels feature plenty of extra ramps and trick spots, allowing them to work better within the classic Hawk formula. This is most strongly felt in maps like the Zoo, which is missing areas entirely and changed to work as a competition map
Dude, okay, at least he's spitting right now.
instead. I actually kind of think it flows better like this, to be honest.
This dude had me in the first half. What the... Are you kidding me? Dude, oh, God. No way, dude. We just got debated so hard. Literally removed 3 areas, no animals, made tall quarter pipes that you cannot skate, and added more geometry that just gets in the way. Like,
I can certainly understand why some fans might prefer the original, but I still think they did an excellent job here, and it's worth checking out. In fact, in some ways, I'd argue this is a better Pro Skater 4 than the original. Now, of course, that original had to exist for the series to evolve, so it's not really a fair comparison, but...
I gotta back that up. What exactly did he say? Did he say what I just think he said?
In fact, in some ways, I'd argue this is a better Pro Skater 4 than the original. Now, of course, that...
The only way it's better is that it looks better and the level flagging is better, but oh man, I don't know. If I was on a desert island and I could only pick 3 and 4 or 4, I don't think so, man.
Original had to exist for the series to evolve, so it's not really a fair comparison, but the new focus allows everything to sort of flow a lot faster and made it easier to get into the action. It's now a more replayable game, I feel. But that's Pro Skater 4 then.
Stop!
A solid game that changed the entire trajectory of the series.
35 times replayable. Yeah, because you have to beat it with every... Dude, I can't, man. These are the opinions of the casual THPS player. Longtime fans like us are cooked. Yeah, I mean, this is essentially what we're kind of dealing with. I mean, I knew what we were getting into, like, watching this. But I didn't know at what level, honestly, this... Like, because I'm not familiar with this channel. I don't know their level of experience with the franchise. But generally speaking, when you look at reviews or previews or any sort of coverage on Tony games, you're going to get, like... compared to people like me or people who are in this chat, like, you're going to get those surface level impressions and you're not going to get into the, you know, the nitty gritty. So 1 and 2 is the beginning of something great. 3 and 4 is the disappointing continuation. Yes, that's a very succinct and clear way to convey my feelings. Because even 1 and 2 was a disappointment, but it was so good in 2020 from where we came from that it was like, oh my God, yes. Now let's keep it going. And then 3 and 4 came out and I was like, what? did you just do? Also, this Nokia blimp is the same one from Tony Hawk 4 College, is it not? Jamie, pull that up. What disappointed me about 1 and 2? Where's that Evil Trovis screenshot that linked me? Sorry, editor, you're gonna have to cut this out. This. Look at us being disappointed in the trailer and being like, okay, well, here's my top 10 requests. Online, spectating, online, keyboard and voice chat. They gave us voice chat, but no keyboard. Keyboard is way more crucial for a game like Tony. Set and go to custom restart, R3 to lock camera, back and select to change camera, fix revert exploits, online server browser, online teams, online collision-based game modes like Capture the Flag, King of the Hill, and Slap, and live ops, which would essentially give us these 9 things. Live ops meaning continuous support, developer support, fixing bugs, exploits, bounce fixes, and also like new content, new Creative Skater parts, new levels potentially, new seasons, new things, like just like online ongoing support. And that could lead to all these top 9 things being fixed and addressed. But the reason why I made this list is because all of these things were supported in Tony 3 and Tony 4, or Tony 4, with the exception of voice chat. And go to custom restart wasn't in 3, but it was in 4. So all these things were in 4. We should get these things. And in the remaster, they didn't do any of them. And if you ask me for 1 and 2, these were also not in 1 and 2 when they should have been. So there you go.
And Acclaim, which had its own extreme sports brand, had vanished entirely. It was a rough time for fans of these.
Was that BMX XXX? I think that's the most of that game I've seen right there. We're going to get banned. All right, 07's in chat. So we had a good run. Everybody, yeah.
Thankfully, things are looking up. With the return of Tony Hawk in the last few years, the rebirth of Skate from Electronic Arts, and a wave of nostalgia hitting for this specific.
Did you just say things are looking up? Hold on.
Thankfully, things are looking up with the return of Tony. Of course, it could also go the other way if these things don't hit with fans. Whatever happens next, though, it's great to have a new Tony Hawk game this year, and here's hoping the momentum continues for years to come.
Dude, this was really good. I mean, I gotta say, this is like a really well put together video. He obviously put in a ton of effort into the tech needed and the equipment and the hardware needed to capture old games and put side by sides. And like, there's definitely a script. He's not just winging it like I am on stream. Like, he actually curated. This must have taken weeks, at least like months, maybe. This is an insanely good video. Yeah, really good video. I think that obviously, you know, we disagree with a lot of the points, but we agreed on a lot of things. And we learned some things new that I had no idea or never even really thought about. You know, like finishing a goal on Tony 4 PS1. I didn't even think about that. There's no success game stoppage. Like they completely got rid of the friction when you complete a goal on Tony 4 on PS1. But on PS2, Tony 4, you got to wait through all the dialogue and upgrade your stats, and then you got cash, you set a new record, assign a new stats, like that sort of stuff was like cool to see. We did learn about spline transfers. I wonder if that was just like a misspeak. Like I flub my words all the time on stream. Like remember when I said Thug 4 or whatever? Yeah, that being said, like my whole takeaway, and I've said it a gazillion times, and I would like to put a more concise video outlining like all my thoughts. Like I have a notepad of like so many notes I took while doing a Tony 3 and 4 playthrough that is just like such a huge 3 and 4 is a huge letdown. It's 1 and 2. 1 and 2 had all these problems with it, and all these features that were in 1 and 2 that were in, like, let's just say Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 had really crucial features in it that were not in 1 and 2. And 1 and 2 was 5 years ago. And so they came out with the sequel 5 years later, 3 and 4, and none of those features were added or addressed. And they're super crucial and integral to the longevity of the product, especially for someone like me. And if they want to sell more copies, I feel like you have to make a game with integrity. And like, whether it's the epic 2-minute timer or all these features that are missing that were in Tony 3 and Tony 4, like I have a hard time digesting the bare minimum. And that's what this feels like to me. Tony 3 and 4 is essentially the bare minimum of what they needed to get a game out the door and make money from it. And I think if they put more effort into it, they would have sold more, but I don't know how much more. Truthfully, if I got everything I wanted in a Tony game, and specifically Tony 3 and 4, I don't know how much more they would sell, but they would definitely need more manpower to do it. This is why I'm not a corporate C-suite executive that wears a suit to work. I'm an implementer. I'm not a shot caller for a company like large AAA game developers, you know? So like, I don't know. I'm just like a dude on the internet who feels like have a really good ear to the ground, finger to the pulse, whatever you say, on what makes a Tony game fun. And I just feel like when the game is more fun, it sells more copies. But maybe I'm wrong in that. That's my thoughts. I don't know. Really good video. It's just a shame that Tony 3 and 4 came out to be the way it did. But yeah, just that being said, like, I mean, this is so good. I wonder what people are saying in the comments. I've always enjoyed abandoned water parks. The last thing John's victims ever hear. Minor correction, there are pedestrians in Tony 3. We said that too. That's funny. But this is essentially what it comes down to for me. I mean, like, I can get way more nitty gritty. Like, I'm just looking at my list over here. Career. Stats are unlocked for everyone after the first tour. You never have to collect stats again. Most cash icons in career are already collected for everyone after the first tour. So you only have to collect 1, 2, or 3 cash icons out of the 5 or 6 per level. As a result, when you start a new solo tour, it says the new skater is 21% complete, done. Also, there's no differentiation in goals between street, park, or vert skaters. Skitching is like completely botched. I don't want to skitch. It's broken, basically. Can't spin flatland tricks still, like you could in 24. Spine transfers don't take other axis into account when calculating your landing vert. So if you're going up a quarter pipe at an angle, hit right trigger to spine and the landing bowl half pipe starts to curve, you'll smash into the deck. Other games lock your trajectory so it doesn't happen if there's not a safe landing. When going up a quarter pipe to level out and there's a spine transfer you can't reach, R2 does nothing when it should allow you to level out. When going up a quarter pipe to spine transfer and you can't reach the landing quarter pipe safely, the game will try to spine transfer you anyway and you bail. Other Tony games would level out in this case. These are just like my nitty gritty takes, but all these things like culminate. There's like a list. I'm just looking at like 50 lines of like things that are just in Tony 4 and supported that are just not in this game. So if you're watching this later on YouTube, this shout out to Digital Foundry Retrospective, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, the original games, the ports, the modern version, the legacy. Please go like, comment, describe over there and watch their video, or just leave it up while you're working or whatever. That was a really well put together video, so thank you for providing us with some entertainment today. I didn't think we were going to watch that whole thing, but that was really captivating. So nice work over there, gentlemen. Or just gentleman. John. Shout out John. Claps in the chat for Digital Foundry. If you're watching this later, thank you for being here. Make sure you like, comment, describe to Andy THPS on YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook. And yeah,